teaches us, "Thy kingdom come." But what does he mean by that? Personally, I think that this subject is best handled by Pastor Peter Chukahira from Haifa in Israel. He says that Christians come in at the intermission of the movie. And what he means by that is that the Old Testament describes how God's kingdom is formed in the Israelites. Hi, my name is Harana and I'm with Promised Land Stories. And today we want to look at how God used the Egyptians to form the concept of king and kingdom for the Israelites. A part of this recording has been done while teaching a school online. I apologize for the awkwardness of having my eyes on a computer screen. How did the Israelites end up in Egypt to begin with? Joseph was the right-hand man of the Pharaoh, which is the Egyptian king, at a time of global crisis. Joseph begins to learn. He first learns through the Ishmaelite caravan that brings him down in slavery. He learns a new language. In the household of Potiphar, he begins to learn how slaves and authorities work. Then he learns through his service in jail, begins to learn some of the administration. Now he's at the king's direct beck and call, and he learns about the religion and the culture of the Egyptian context. What is important to understand is that Joseph's calling is that he's destined for royalty and eventually for international leadership, but he needs a massive paradigm shift. You cannot go from a small world mindset into becoming who he's supposed to be. So he's going to get to understand this God of positioning who first gave him dreams and how he's able to bring these dreams about. So Joseph helped Pharaoh to save up grain for 7 years before the famine hit, and that meant that not only Egypt had provision, but also the surrounding nations, right? And they could sell, and Egypt became very, very rich. And that was the point at which Joseph's family also comes in and buys grain. They were really wide-eyed in the context of Egypt. And the reason is because they were sheep and goat guys. Now, the sheep and goat people have a tribe, so several of the clans together. Imagine that Abraham sits in his tent and he has set up a mantelpiece, and on that mantelpiece are several idols. And the one is the god for travel, and the next is the god for childbirth, and the next is the god for fertility. And each one of them you have to appease and pray to. So they had small gods, and for them, the chief authority would be the head of your household. That would be the father or the clan head or the tribal head. But that was as far as their idea of leadership went. So these sheep and goat guys come into Egypt and they encounter a person that is massive in his scope of authority. He is not only over Egypt, he is over the then known world. So this is really almost like overwhelming and scary for them, that he has so much authority because of this economic advantage. It was daunting to them, okay? So eventually David was going to be instrumental in overseeing the first expression of kingdom in the time of Israel, where there will be 38,000 people in service of the temple alone, let alone the military and all of the other administrations. David had to have a kingdom mindset, but he had to grow from the time he was a shepherd to the time he became king in Hebron for 7 years, and then he ruled in Jerusalem for 33 years. In the book of Daniel, we see that Daniel interprets a king's dreams, and he says to him, it is God who puts kings in position and God who removes them. And Daniel himself serves in the presence of 4 kings. So this is important to understand, that God brings people to royalty for the sake of service. Moses serves under the Egyptian administration as well, and we see that he gets a thorough introduction to the language, the culture, the religion of the palace. But we look over the span of Egyptian history, we see that in the Old Kingdom, their gods were really big. and the pharaohs were small by comparison. The Middle Kingdom, things changed, and by the time of the New Kingdom, the pharaohs are huge. Like the statue of Ramses is about 3 stories high. And we see in the hieroglyphics that these kings carried the gods like little dolls. But isn't that like our day? In antiquity, gods were big. Even our grandparents, they had the fear of God. But in our day, people put that which they trust in, like a good luck charm, in their pockets. Men are huge. Names in politics are world-renowned. Sports heroes, music icons, and you can become a household known globally by a video that goes viral in a matter of minutes. Humanism and human rights is really large. We can see that in our selfie culture. So man is exalted, and God, deity, has become small in the world's eyes. To conclude, I need Diako's help. You remember the breastplate that Bezalel was instructed to create for Aaron to wear over his tunic? A kind of golden jewelry, big pieces with stones embedded on it. It's very Egyptian. You can still see some of those in the museum in Cairo today. The high priest of Israel was a picture of a human on whose heart rested all the tribes, and on whose shoulders was the whole nation. Can you see how the royalty of Christ's kingship converges with his high priesthood? Think about that a little bit.